Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. I'm your host, Lashina Williams, and so excited to be back here with you all, and so excited to kickstart this month's conversation on why grants fail, readiness, alignment, and strategy explained. And who better to start this month's conversation off with than Tiffany Nobles, grant expert herself. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her up so we can get started with this month's topic. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back.
So glad to have you back, and especially around this topic on why grants fail, because I'm sure if we know the failures, then we're able to kind of combat those in order to have grant successes. So I'm excited about this conversation this month.
Yeah. Grant readiness is and alignment is right up my alley and things something I like talking about all the time.
Love it. So before we dive into the topic, for those that have not tuned in to previous sessions, can you just talk about a little bit your journey in the nonprofit world and how you landed in the grant space?
Yeah. I have always just really been interested in nonprofits, just the way they work. Even back in college and grad school, I was always really into that. And so I kind of always knew I'd be in the nonprofit space in some way. But I got into grants about 15 years ago working at a nonprofit organization. And I was given a writing assignment and was told, okay, we like the way you write. So starting tomorrow, you're handling grants. And I was like, I'm doing what? I'm sorry. I was like, I can spell grant and I kind of know what it is. And they're like, you'll be fine. And I don't know if I'm a glutton for punishment or I just, really like a challenge, but I got into it and I've stayed into it. Like I said, I've been working in the grant space for 15 years now, and I love all the parts of it. I love all types of grants. I love teaching people about grants. And when I don't want to talk to people, I go and write grants. So I don't just talk to people
Love
like,
it.
let me do this behind the scenes. I can do both
Yeah.
sides, and do that. But yeah, really love nonprofit space and work and all of that.
So good, so good. And I think in the nonprofit world, that's how a lot of us end up in the different roles. It's like, here you go, you got
Mhm.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yep. I was definitely voluntold. There was no, do you want to try this? It was, you're gonna do this and you'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Here it is. It was worth
Mhm.
doing, right?
Mhm. Yes, yes, for sure. Definitely was.
Love it. Okay, so this month conversation is why grants fail, readiness, alignment, and strategy explained. So, what are your thoughts around some tips on this particular topic?
Yeah, so I will say the first thing I find with organizations and leaders who are interested in grant funding, the first biggest kind of mistake or reason why they fail is relying on grants way too much, thinking that grants is like that's the magic wand that's going to solve all of our problems. Um, and I get it. It's easy to think that way because it's not money you have to give back, but it's not free money in a way because there's work that goes into it, right? There's
Mhm.
reporting, there's all kinds of things that come along with that. And so just not having a real strategy around how you're going to use grants, why you're using grants, does it make sense? There are times when, you might be working harder for a grant that's not guaranteed. And honestly, unless the funder is literally handing you a check, it is still not guaranteed. I don't care how many conversations you've had, all the relationship building, it can still go left of center at the
Mhm.
end. So you have to really have a strategy and plan for that, not chasing everything that's out there.
Mhm.
It's like some people are like, well, there are 1,000 grants out there for my type of program, and I'm going to apply to all of them. No, you're not. No, and you shouldn't.
Yep.
No, you shouldn't. All money, and I think I may have said this before when I was on, and I
Mhm.
say this quite often. All money is not good money, right?
Right.
All money is definitely not good money. You don't
Yep.
need to, you may not want to align your program with a particular funder. A funder may not want to align with you. It may not be the right time. If it's going to put a burden on your organization to accept certain money, don't do it like that.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter if it's government funds or private foundation funds or whatever. It's even if you're going outside of the grant space and going after an individual donor? Are there strings attached that you're like, I don't want this attached.
Mhm.
I don't want to do this. Thinking through that and having that plan and making sure all the decision makers are on board with that and understanding, because sometimes, I've been on nonprofit boards. Sometimes we have board members that come in, you should apply for this. We don't do that work. But they said you could ask for a lot of money, but we don't do that work.
Mm-mm.
But you should apply. We're not applying for that.
Right.
And being able to explain that.
Yep. I love that. It's that alignment because I found like in the years of working in nonprofit space, a lot of the grants or funding that you have the most difficult time with is the ones that never align from the very beginning.
Mhm.
Because it's almost like you're trying to, fit into that
Yes.
what that square
Uh-huh. You
that
shaving down the sides to make it
yeah.
fit. That square peg to make it fit the
Yeah,
round hole. Don't
you're
do
right.
that.
Yeah. And it makes it harder and you're using a lot more energy, your staff energy,
Mhm.
time, all of that, and not even working towards your own mission because you went chasing after just because
Yes.
the grant looked like it had a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
You went chasing after that grant.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I see a lot of organizations, do that. They'll create a program because there's a grant that fits it.
Mm.
And that's literally putting the cart before the horse.
Mm-hmm.
Have the program. If this is a program idea that you've like, we've always wanted to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why we haven't is because we haven't had the financial support. Then you have a plan and say, okay, now I'm going to look for this money. You don't say the money's here. Now I'm going to build it.
Right. Yep.
And I'm building it while I'm building the plane while I'm trying to fly the plane and I don't know which direction I'm going in. And half the staff have left because they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm burnt out.
Yep.
Yeah. And that never
Yep.
makes sense for your sustainability and longevity as an organization.
Let's talk about because a lot of times I'll hear organizations they're just getting started, probably just got their 501(c)(3),
Mhm.
and then they're like, "Okay, I'm ready to get a grant, or I want to start applying for grants now." Let's talk about that. What's your thoughts on that?
My And I honestly, like right now, I don't work with clients that are in that space because it there's a learning curve that sometimes they're not willing to want to take. And I'm like, I don't want to be on that journey with you, right?
Mhm.
But maybe build your capacity. You're piloting a program before you got your 501(c)(3), and now longer term be getting a small grant, do that, working with one grant,
Mhm.
not trying to go after all the grants, and be
Mhm.
real big. That there's nothing wrong with doing that and starting out, but when I see people are like, I got my 501(c)(3) yesterday, I'm going to apply for a federal grant tomorrow. No, you're not. You're not
Right.
you're not even going to meet the minimum
Yeah.
eligibility, first of all. So you've got to pay attention to that, but you're also just not ready.
Right.
You're not ready, and being in need of the money is not readiness.
Yeah.
That's the thing I talk to people all the time about. Grant readiness is not just saying, well, I don't have any money in my account, so I'm ready to get grants. Well, no, you're not, because you have to have the infrastructure to tell a compelling story, to show the impact that you're already making, that you want to make, why it makes a difference. You need all of that. And if you're
Mhm.
like, I don't even know what to tell these people, we're awesome. Oh, okay, okay, I can say that, but prove it. Show me that you're awesome. Make me think that you're awesome. And if you
Mhm.
can't do that other than just saying, well, I think I'm awesome. Like, you thinking you're awesome is not going to get you grant funding. Like, it's
Right.
because if
Yeah.
that's the case, then I could get a whole lot of things. We could just, magic wand here or there and do all kinds
Right.
of things. But having that true alignment, being grant ready, ready to, um, I teach grants workshops. And when I tell people all the time, grant readiness comes with, do you have the right people? You have the right time, the right
Mhm.
amount of time. When are you going to start looking for grants? When are you going to write for those grants?
Mhm.
Um, do you have time to run the programs associated with those grants? You have the right partnerships.
Yep.
if you're trying to apply to a grant, you don't know anyone, it's a private foundation, you don't know anyone. You don't
Yep.
know anyone and no one you know knows anyone.
Yep.
You're already you're so far behind, it might make more sense to say, "Let me take some time, build a relationship here before I ever get to the point of actually applying." Now, some
Yep.
funders you can't do that with, 'cause and they'll tell you they don't have capacity for that. But the ones that you can, that's the strategy that
Yeah.
you should take for it.
And that's what, when I talk to organizations, I'm like, build your house first so that you can have that strong foundation.
Mhm,
Because if you don't, and you go after these relationships and they find out that you really didn't have that infrastructure, which they will find out,
mhm.
then now you damaged a potential relationship that could have grew into something bigger. Just take the time at that very beginning phase and build your house, build your
Mhm,
programs. What do you want it to look like? Build your strategic plan. What direction you want to go in, so you know which grants to say yes to and which ones to say no to.
mhm.
Build your unrestricted fund, because the larger the funding, some of them don't give it to you up front.
Nope.
And if you don't have anything in the account to help pay for staffing and things like that, it can put you in a really serious situation where your organization is closing before it opens. You
Yes.
know?
Yes, yes. Yes,
Yeah,
for sure. For definitely building that, like you said, building that foundation, having that
yeah.
strategic plan. I tell organizations all the time, you can have stretch goals. I think stretch goals are great.
Hmm.
But if every goal you have is a stretch goal, you're
Yeah.
gonna be stretched so thin that you're not gonna be able to do anything. You were talking about staffing. It's the
Yeah.
same with that. If all of your staff, if you being able to pay them is only built on you having grants,
Hmm.
so if they're relying on you to keep getting the grant for the program and that's the only thing that keeps them having a job, that's not sustainable either.
Yeah.
Because if the grant funding decide like if the grant source decides to change their funding priorities and you no longer align, what are you going to do with that program? What are you going to do with that staff member? Are you able to absorb the cost of having them there? Or are you just going to keep turning over people because you're like, well, I got to wait till I get the next grant, then I can start the program back up.
Yep.
And it's not, a sustainable model at all. It's kind of like, you were talking about building a house. When you watch a house being built, they pour the foundation, they let it settle and set, then they start building the house. If
Mhm.
you don't wait for the foundation to set and you start putting heavy bricks on it, they're gonna slide. Some are gonna slide this way, some are gonna slide that way. They'll start to collapse. If you
Yep.
start putting on the bricks and you don't put enough mortar in between the bricks,
Mhm.
they'll start to
Yep.
crumble. They won't
Yep.
line up. All of those things have to, be added onto that. And that includes having the right leadership surrounding you, having board members that participate in the conversation. They are willing to talk to people. They're willing to introduce you to people.
Mhm.
They're willing to go and talk to people on the organization's behalf. You have 5 funders to talk to, and you're like, "Well, I can handle these 3, but I need somebody to go to these 2." And they're like, "I don't wanna talk to people." "Why are you here?"
Mhm.
"Oh, are you gonna cut us a check for the amount we need to get from them? Because if you wanna do that, you can stay." You can definitely stay if you're just gonna cut a check, sure. You can stay on here, so yeah.
Love it. And what about what to look for when securing a grant writer, and why I'm saying this, because especially early on, a lot of the organizations, they'll contact us, hey, we want to start grants. We start going through some questions around that grant readiness piece. And do you have that foundation, that infrastructure? Because and the warning that I give them, if you don't, after this conversation, let's say you continue to look for grant writers, you find someone, and if that person don't warn you like how I'm warning you, you should caution yourself, because you're going to be spending a lot of money
Mhm,
on, and with a decreased amount of percentage of you potentially being able to get that grant.
mhm,
If we can talk a little bit about, you know, how to identify a really good grant writer, and when to identify that grant writer, which we touched on that when a little bit, but
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So, the win should be way before,
Mhm.
way
Yeah.
before the due date.
Yeah.
Don't be like, "It's due in 2 days," or "It's due in 2 weeks. Can you"
Mhm.
Absolutely not, absolutely not.
Mhm.
I also tell people a lot of times, they're, y don't just let someone tell you that they're good. It's
Mhm.
the same way you can't the funder's not gonna allow you to just tell them that your organization is great, right?
Yep.
So don't let someone tell you that they can write grants. They should show you their writing samples. The
Mm.
number of people I've had come to me who have spent money and time and energy working with someone who said, "I can write you a grant,"
Mm.
and they never check what their writing looks like. And then they find out these people can't write at all.
Mhm.
They're not even close.
Yep.
Um, find like take the time to do that. If they don't provide writing samples, ask for them. And if you ask for them and they're like, "Well, I don't really share," you can redact who it's for
Mhm.
and still show the writing. You can read it and say, "Okay, I can't see the organization, but I can see the other details and I can see what
Mhm.
this is." Don't let someone tell you, "Well, I can't share information," because they can. They can
Mm.
share it. There's a way to share it.
Yeah.
Making sure that, someone is either a part of an organization like the Grant Professionals Association. I've been a member since 2012. They, there's a process for that. So if someone says they're a member of such organization, there's a way for you to check.
Mhm.
And organizations like that, we have ethical standards, right? So if they go against those ethical standards, you can be like, yeah, I'm going to go and over here and I'm going to report. Having someone, I have my grant professional certified credential, so my
Mhm.
GPC, having someone that has that, we've gone through a process to get that. That's not me showing up and just, taking one webinar and getting a little certificate. Like I had to prove that I was even eligible to sit for an exam. I took
Mhm.
an exam, I got that credential. Things like that. Also thinking about like you get what you pay for, right? So if you find someone, I know sometimes organizations be like, I went on Fiverr or I went on Upwork and I saw somebody said they could write grants. They could write me a grant for $10 an hour. You're gonna get $10 an hour worth of work. Like, right? Because
Mhm.
what?
Yep.
What are you talking about? First of
Yep.
all, they make the people who are writing grants for a living,
Mhm.
who are charging more because we've done more, look really bad because they're like, why are you charging over $100 an hour and they're only charging me $10 an hour because I write better than them.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm bringing knowledge and strategy with it.
Yep.
So thinking through those things, if they and I'll say even sometimes if it seems too good to be true, whatever their process is, or it gives you pause, like this seems a little shady.
Mhm. Yeah.
If they're telling me that I can, we don't have to sign a contract and they'll pay and I can pay them through Cash App, but no, please don't do that.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people do that and they've
Mm.
lost money doing it and nothing ever got submitted. Um and that's just having that contract protects you, protects your organization. It protects the consultant or the grant writer, whomever, however they're operating. It protects them as well, but it'll protect you and what you're doing and how you're sharing information. If they don't ever want to review anything, just going through that, it takes a little bit of time
Mhm.
to go through that process. Interview them before. You wouldn't hire a program manager to run your program without talking to them and getting information
Mhm.
don't just hire someone because, well, my neighbor said they got a friend who could write grant. Your neighbor might be lovely, but unless your neighbor can prove and that or that person they connect you with can prove that they can do what they're saying. And if it feels, also trust your gut. If it feels a little
Mhm.
off, it probably is.
Right. What about let's talk about this because I've heard this in the sense of eh, okay, I'm just gonna put it out because I cringe every time I hear it. In the sense of oh we can I found someone who could write the grants for me and they'll get a percentage on the like on the back end, or I'm looking for someone who can be able to do that.
Mhm,
And I know a lot of times it's just because people enter the field, we enter with the passion first and then kind of learn more about the nonprofit space, so they might not know. But can we talk about that so
mhm,
those that kind of are looking or heard that
mhm,
offer,
mhm.
what that means in the grant world or fundraising world?
Funders don't want to pay for your grants person. And when I talked about If it seems kind of shady, seems kind of red flag, I have offered to people that I've worked with before, like they may come back to me and I may offer to do a proposal for them for free. And, that's every so often. But
Mhm.
if someone is saying to you, I will take a percentage of this grant, they are basically saying to you, if you don't get this money, I'll be okay with not getting paid for the time I put into this.
Mhm.
That seems a little like,
Mhm.
I mean, there are nice people. Don't get me wrong. There are nice people in this world that would do that. But if it seems a little off, if they are, like I said, member of organization like the Grant Professionals Association, or they have their GPC, something like that, that's against our ethical standards. We don't
Mm.
work on commission, right?
Boom.
And so it, that should be like a red flag if somebody's like, well, I'll just take a cut. Well, first think about how much that cut would be, depending on how
Mhm.
much you got, right? So
Mhm.
a cut of 1,000,000 is a lot of money.
Right.
You know, and
Yep.
and it's like, do I really wanna, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so it's like, well, how are if you're doing this all the time, that's usually like a red flag, and I'm always like, "No, don't do that." I've had people come to me, "Well, so you just take like a percent." No, I don't. I have a rate,
Mhm.
and the rate is the rate unless I offer to give you a different rate,
Mhm.
but the rate is the rate.
Right.
And the reason why the rate is the rate is because of not just because I just made it up, pulled it out my hat. I decided on my rates because of the knowledge and the energy that I'm bringing, all the information I'm bringing, the years of experience that I'm bringing to this.
Yep.
And so if you've got somebody that doesn't want to do that, it should give you pause for sure. You should be thinking about those types of things.
I absolutely agree. And that's kind of like whenever I hear it, I'm like, oh boy. Honestly, like if anyone gets a percentage, like how you mentioned is part of the code of ethics, then they don't have,
Mhm,
they're not part of those associations
mhm,
that require you not to be taking
right.
commission or having those type of models. So that's like immediate, like, nah, we'll go to
Yeah.
someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can ask them, like, "Are you a member of this or that?"
Mhm.
And if they tell you they are, and then they turn to you and say, "I'll work on commission,"
Yeah.
you can definitely reach out and report them.
Yeah.
And if you don't wanna do it, I tell people, "Reach out to me, I'll tell them."
I'll
And
tell.
that I mean, it
Yep.
not saying it never happens.
Right.
It has happened before where you have these people that are doing this and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this thing on the side,
Yeah.
and I just won't, I'll take whatever." And I'm just like, "No, we're not doing that."
Right. Yep. Let's talk about AI in grant writing and how that can, you know, be beneficial or not within the grant writing space.
So, I personally don't use AI for my writing. I literally just I'm writing.
Mm-hmm.
There are some grants folks who just don't. They like refuse to touch it. And then there are others who have jumped in all in with both feet and they're like, it helps me and it streamlines my work and all these things. I've attended a couple different webinars series around AI and how it can help with grant writing. I think it can definitely be very beneficial. It's you get out of it what you put into it. So if you've
Mm-hmm.
got good narrative going in and you're asking AI to help you change it or reformat it or make it sound in this voice or whatever, you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And now if you just pull up Chat GPT and be like, write me a grant about such and such, and you've put nothing in there, you're gonna get something kind of crazy out of
Right.
it. Right.
Right.
The other thing is also when you're looking at grant opportunities, I've been seeing more and more. There's some funders who don't like AI and they will clearly say, if we detect that you've used any AI, then what's interesting to me is they say that and I'm thinking, well, are you using AI software to detect AI in the system?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's interesting.
Right.
But you have to make sure that, you can actually use it for that. I've
Mm-hmm.
heard of people saying, well, they don't even want me to use Grammarly to check it. I've heard of people saying they accused me of using AI because they said the grammar was too good. It was almost perfect. And I was like,
Mm.
so now I have to make mistakes in my writing so
Right.
that you don't think it was AI. I think it can be, for those who are interested in using it in any capacity, it can be a tool but use it wisely. Don't use it as like the easy button. It's not
Mhm.
it, make sure, and then whatever you get out of it, if you decide to use it, whatever it produces, make sure that you read it,
Mhm.
right? It's the same way if you hire a grant writer that's not a full-time, like not your employee, but they're like a consultant or their contractor. When they write something, you should read it. You should not just go, "Well, I trust you." Don't trust me like that. Please read it, because
Yeah.
I could make a mistake. I could type something incorrectly or whatever. And if you hit the button and say, "No, this is fine," and I send it off, or if AI produces something and you just copy and paste it into the online grant application and send it off and it's wrong,
Mhm.
the funder's looking at you like, "Why did you submit this? Why did you turn this in this way? Why does it say that?" Or they pulled something. Sometimes people will say, "I used it because I didn't have any data, so it made up something." There's data out there that you can get without making it up. If you don't have
Yeah.
your own, there are places you can find the data from. You don't need it to make it up. If it cites data, check it. Make sure it's an actual source.
Mhm.
Don't be like some of those attorneys lately who have been using AI to write motions and then they're getting fined because AI is making up case law and then citing
Mm,
it.
mm. Yeah. I had a situation with AI where pretty much we were interviewing for a position and we have a pre-screening process, and the pre-screens came back before we invite for interview, and two of them looked identical, and I'm like, what in the world? And you just knew they ran the questions through AI, and literally the way that the answers came, some words may be a little different. It was just like, oh my gosh. So imagine if that's being done with the grants, and then the funder sees these applications that looking similar, like automatically they're like, okay, forget about it, like,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I just haven't gone into. I use,
Mhm.
the system I use for researching grants uses some AI to pull those
Mhm.
grants. I can use that all day because
Yeah.
it's just pulling the opportunities and then I'm vetting them through there.
Mhm.
But there, like I said, there are a lot of different webinars by reputable sources that can show you how to best use AI. I know Grant
Mhm.
Station is one. They have had several different series
Mhm.
on using AI in grant work and giving you resources of what to do and what not to do, showing you examples of what looks
Mhm.
like a good one and what looks like, looking out for things like that, whether it's a free webinar or something you're paying for, is far more beneficial than just trying to wing it on your own,
Yep.
and it's the same with if you're hiring a grant writer or a consultant, asking them, or do you use AI? Are you,
Mhm.
what are you doing with that? I've been getting that question from prospective clients more, and I'm able to give an answer if they're like, "No, I never use AI," or "I only
Yep.
use AI." If they say they only use AI, like ask, like, what's the reason behind that or whatever.
Mhm.
If you're only using AI, then why am I paying you what I might be paying you if I hire you?
Right,
Because
right.
right, thinking through
Yep.
those things as well.
Yep. Love it. All right. So how can those listening get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is through my email,
Mhm.
Tiffany at tnoblesgrantconsulting.com. I know it's kind of long, but I think we've shared it. Um, that's pretty much the easiest way. I've had people reach out to me and try to connect on LinkedIn. You can do that as well. Sometimes people will do that and then send me a message and then, we talk. I'm not real I have a website. I have a grant readiness assessment guide actually on my
Mhm.
website, so folks can always get that.
Mhm.
It's free to download. You just put in your email address to access it, but it goes through some of those kind of grant readiness questions and
Mhm.
things like that. But yeah, a couple different ways to just reach out. But I tell people sometimes just email is the easiest way. I know I have a business line that's out there, but I don't answer it all the time. Just being honest, like,
Yep.
okay, I answer it maybe sometimes,
Yeah. So
later. I'll check the
email.
messages later, but
Yep.
email is the easiest way to be able to get a hold of me. Yeah, for sure.